Hey fanboys, hey fangirls. Carnell Holley, because I am here with Carlton Hoyles, because it was a bit of a tongue tie. I was like, this is with the third take, maybe. But we're at Atlanta Sci-Fi and Fantasy Expo right here in the Challenges Games and Comics. And so I had to interview my boy because he's got his own comic.
Which is Renegades issue number 1, and Renegades issue number 2, Blast from the Past, which is now available on INDYPLANET.com.
Hmm. Now we're about to get into it because we're in the thick of Atlanta Sci-Fi and Fantasy Expo. We're in a comic book shop. You got your comics, and it just made sense to bring you in because I know you do your fanboy thing like me.
Always, yep.
Now what you say? You saw the Tuskegee Airs. I was there, doing your thing. Now with this in particular, before I get off topic, because I know we're fans of theirs as well. But what is your comic about?
Basically, we got 5 delinquent teenage boys who happen to go out doing bad things. They get caught,
Mm,
and they get the opportunity of a lifetime. They get to have they have to serve a sentence basically, and their sentence is working at a comic book shop under a guy who actually was a former police officer.
okay.
And they work with him for about 3 years, and then all of a sudden there's a circumstance that occurs that turns them into superheroes. I don't want to go into details about it just yet, but that's basically the premise of the story.
Okay. So no, do they get superpowers or they're like regular teenagers?
They are regular teenagers.
Okay.
They run into the same typical things you see most teenagers, the teen angst type stuff. But yeah, they realize they've made some mistakes in their
Mm,
past and they want to try to redeem themselves. There's a
okay.
situation that occurs that they decide to get involved in, being the the rebellious kids that they are. They find themselves in a situation that is a little bit above their it's a little bit above their
Pay grade?
I won't say their pay grade, but
Okay.
it's just something that's a little bit out of it gets out of hand.
Okay.
Circumstances get out of hand and stuff like that, and they later end up becoming. I have no control.
Interesting. Okay, so I mean, you don't do the crime if you can't do the time. But it was one of those situations where it's like just a slap on the wrist, nothing hardcore or anything like that.
Some of the things these guys get involved in when they were actually doing some bad things back in the day, like some of these guys were boosting cars, some of these guys were getting into fights, some of these guys were actually hacking the government and doing stuff like
Okay.
that. Arson and obviously theft and things like that. So these little,
That is slap on the wrist.
yeah,
Oh, I was sure. I can't.
yeah,
They're minors.
yeah, that's what they are. So the thing is, they're minors, so they're
Okay.
getting sent to jail
Okay.
because they're still minors at the time. So, like I said, they decided let's go ahead and instead of them having to, charge them as adults and stuff like that, they said, you know what, let's give these kids a second chance. So it's all about second chances.
Mm,
That's what the whole premise is.
okay.
So the judge decides to take pity on these kids. Say, hey, you know what? These guys just lack discipline, and what are they going to do? They're going to hire one of the hardest cops they once had on the force, and a former cop and everything. He takes these guys in, and like I said, he owns this comic book shop, but also there's a loft above the comic book shop where they live. So he's basically taking them in, and they have to serve a sentence working at this comic book shop for a year. But they decide, hey, we've been here for a year. They worked for 3 years with them and everything like that.
Right.
All the way up to the moment they get ready to graduate high school. And they're getting ready to finally, embrace this freedom after finally graduating high school and all that kind of stuff. And then, like I said, they find themselves in this weird circumstance that they get in over their heads. And being the meddling kids that they are, they end up finding themselves getting these powers and stuff later down the road. So I don't want to give too much information.
Okay, right.
But you got to definitely check it out
Hey.
to get more of the details about these characters.
That's hot.
Yeah.
Okay, because like where my mind's going, like I mean, we got the loft over the comic book store, and it's a secret lair or something. But I like what I'm hearing. So, because I was wondering, like I'm seeing the pictures, of like, oh, they're older, but it's oh the teen ants. Okay.
Yep, New Beginnings and Blast from the Past. Again, they are available now on INDYPLANET.com, so feel free to check that out. And you can also follow me on Renegades Comics on Instagram. You can also follow me on Renegades Comics on Facebook as well.
So, and that's how they can support you. Any like where they're going to see you, like at any other conventions like this?
Hopefully this year I am trying to get into more involved. I'm trying to get more involved with conventions. I'm
Okay.
getting the ball rolling with that right now as we speak. So yeah, it's a lot.
Sweet. So, from your standpoint, like, how did you get into drawing and writing comics?
I've been drawing ever since I could pick up a pencil, and I just grew up watching too much television, like most of us, and became a nerd like that. And like I said, I was always a very active kid, so I loved doing a lot of action stuff and getting involved in sports. And over time, I realized like I want to create and draw action and stuff like that. So I love doing it with comic books. So I've been I came up with this idea years ago, back in high school actually. And originally I just wanted to be a character designer. So I decided to draw these characters, did the designs, tossed it aside, and was like, okay, this is something I can add to my portfolio.
Right.
But years later, I looked back at these drawings and said, you know what, I really need to develop a story for these guys. So I went ahead and sat down, took some time to actually write out a thorough story that actually is going to be 4 issues long. So wrote the entire script, and then I had to have a serious conversation with myself and say, hey, do I want to sit down and be the artist and the inker and the colorist and all this kind of stuff and the publisher for all this? And said, you know what? No one's going to hand me the opportunity to do it. I got to do it myself. So I'm not going to wait around for a studio to come, find me to get this done. I got to get the ball rolling myself, and then, bring attention that way.
Makes sense.
So, yeah.
No, would you saying action was like a hot button? It was like because you're a stunt man,
This is true.
and on top of that, as far as like with you drawing, I'm thinking about the whole previs and what was it, the
Storyboard.
storyboard.
Yes.
Thank you. I was just like I'm thinking about I can't say it with it, but yes. So with this, in speaking from usually what writers like to speak on what you know, like what is your connection? Did you
plays in?
right?
Yeah. Honestly, stumps definitely helps.
Okay.
It's like you have to understand where the camera is and stuff like that. Understanding camera angles really, really helps you put things in perspective when you're drawing.
Mhm.
So like you can always draw things in a first person perspective, but tends to be very boring. There's a method to this madness. You do want to make things a little bit more dynamic.
Okay.
No one wants to see a fight sequence that's just filmed 30 miles away. You want to see something where you feel like you're in the action as well. So camera angles are very important when it comes to like bird's eye view, when it comes to things, over the shoulder type stuff.
Right.
Just to make it more intense and dramatic. So that's why so having a stunt background really helps with that, being able to see those type of things and being able to convey it onto a comic book page.
Nice. No, as far as stories, like, did you not to put your business in like any connection to anybody that may have had a run-in and turned their lives around?
With me, not exactly.
Okay.
No, I mean, I did have a friend of mine growing up back in the day. His name was Daryl Champion, and he was someone who actually went to church with me way back when. He was several years older than me, but he was like a big brother, and he could also draw. And he was phenomenal with his work, and he could draw so fast too. So I guess he was my biggest inspiration when even drawing. But we would bounce ideas off each other all the time, trying to come up with our own thing and everything. And unfortunately, he passed away. But like I say, he's like a big brother to me, and I'm still trying. The book's actually dedicated to him. But yeah, I'm still trying to finish the book. I got first 2 issues done right now, trying to work on the last 2, and hopefully I'm going to go ahead and try to get an actual graphic novel with everything all combined and stuff like that. So that's what the final goal is. But also, outside of comic books,
Make a good sci-fi.
the big goal, I guess, is try to get it turned into a comic book show. I'm sorry, a cartoon show.
Ah, nice.
If I can do that,
And you can animate,
I
correct?
can animate.
Okay.
I just can't animate everything by myself.
Gotcha.
Like just doing the comic book alone is hard by myself. Myself, and I doing everything with preliminary drawings, the actual drawings, the inking, the coloring, and then the word bubbles, and then the publishing. I'm basically doing the job of 7 people. So I love doing it, but you don't want to do this unless you're passionate about it.
Right.
It's lots of work. That's the only thing. So, like I said,
You want a team, but when you're like until you get the right team, and since you know how to do all the jobs, you're like you're gonna it's gonna be to your specs.
and my biggest thing is character design. I love character design, but again, this project challenges me to do other things, like as far as doing again, different camera angles and stuff like that. Also doing background designs, which is a challenge for me. I don't like drawing backgrounds, but I can do it. It's in my wheelhouse.
Okay.
But again, it's a good challenge for me, and it helps me get better with my art. So I love that. But yeah, you're right. When you get started in the business, it's like you have to do a lot of things yourself. And I'm not great at any part of the jobs that I just listed for you, but I know I'm decent at it. I said I can combine it to still make it turn into a good product. So that's what it is. I love doing character designs. I'm not that great at doing backgrounds, but I know that I can challenge myself and get better at doing backgrounds. Same thing with my coloring and things like that. Like I said, each book I noticed there are little things that I'm improving on. So again, this is like a great challenge for me, and I can't wait to see its final.
Nice little trajectory.
Exactly. Yes.
Now, as far as like, what's the turnover when you're doing the process? You're like creating your own comics and everything.
Oh, well, that varies because I have a life outside of comic books, and I also, maintain a relationship, also involved in other things as well. I have another job. I also involved in the stunt industry as well, so that fluctuates every time, every so often. It's a lot. So most of the time, I tend to try to set deadlines for myself. The problem is, like I said, other things do come into play, but I try to keep that in mind always so that I can try to at least get a book done. At least I don't want to take any longer than about a year to get a book done. So that's the way I look at it.
Okay. I mean, because I don't, I'm more of an anime guy.
Okay.
So when I do delve into the manga, I'm just like, the turnaround for the artists that I know of and how they do all their drawing and the writing. I was just like, that process.
It's grueling.
Right, and you
Very
and then
grueling.
take that time off. I'm just like, where is there so many issues, gaps in between? So I'm just like, okay, makes
Luckily
sense.
for those guys, that's their full time job is doing an abundant amount of time.
Right.
Me is like whenever I get this little bit of free time with all the other things I'm involved in, it's like I try to dedicate it towards this so it can continue to grow and actually like go in the right direction. The last thing I want to do is regress and find myself making the same mistakes I did when I was starting with issue one.
True.
Things like this. So issue one for me was the trial and error one because I wasn't even sure I wanted to go the comic book route because I knew it required a lot of work. And I spoke to several people who are already in the industry who are pretty well known in Marvel, DC, and other various comic book companies. They all said the same thing across the board that my art style was good. They told me that there are a few things I need to work on as far as like, like I said, there's a method to this madness. They were telling me things about panel work and camera angles and things like that. And even gave me some suggestions on how to clean up things with my coloring as well.
Okay.
So again, like it's a good thing that I'm networking with the people who are already in it and have already made these mistakes, and they're telling me what I can do to prevent myself from going down that road as well.
Definitely. I mean, we're in a place where you just let people piggyback and pick people's minds. So I'm just like, it makes sense. Because I saw you were talking to, again, the Tuskegee Airs with
Marcus Wood.
So I've seen
bounce ideas off
right.
and it's a great talking to him as well. So like the man is definitely going in the right direction with his story as well.
Sure.
So yeah, looking forward to all of his work. Just phenomenal artist.
Did you talk to him about any collaborations in the future?
Collaborations, no, he is booked with a lot of things right now.
True.
Yeah, but no, I just when I get the chance, I always try to get the chance to just shake his hand, talk to him, to say, hey, look, I'm just following up with some of your work, and it's always impressive. And like I said, if I could pick his brain about any little things he can help me to become a better artist and just get on that same level, I'm not gonna hesitate to ask him. So yeah, networking. That's the
This is true.
biggest thing.
This is true. When you're an indie artist, you got it. Like the people that you know, this is how you build your team, get better. So I'm just like, it's like you said, it's a method to the madness. So
Absolutely.
take notes. Take notes. All right. Now, I mean, since you're here, definitely you already put out the how people can reach you. Are there any like funding or anything that you?
Not right now. Actually, like I said, right now everything's done by me on INDYPLANET.com.
Okay.
It's not costing me a dime to get it published.
Okay.
No, so again, they've done me. That's a great company to work with and everything. So if you want to put your work out there, you're coming up with anything new. INDYPLANET is actually a wonderful place to check out. To put your work out there. They don't do a lot of marketing for your product, but it is a good platform for people to find your product.
Okay.
And to purchase it that way. It's a print-on-demand company. So that's what I found, and I was following a lot of groups on social media, and I was suggesting like, how do I get my book made? And they were saying, hey, check out. They gave me a few options, but there are some they take a lot of money. They want some money up front. This one didn't require that at all. So that's why I was able to get this going the way that I have.
Nice. Okay. Feeling that. That's support. Now as far as the convention itself, what how you feeling this first time? This is my first time.
Mine as well. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. No, I definitely enjoyed it. Actually, I got an opportunity to do a panel earlier and
Sweet.
got to do stuff. It was talking about just being successful in the film industry. And like I said, my background is film with stunts and things of that nature. I've been in the business for over 10 years, and yeah, I love it. It's a roller coaster, like I said. But the thing is, you had to have a reality check with yourself and realize that you're approaching an industry that you might love that might not always love you back. So it's good to stay active and, like I said, add more tools to your toolbox so that you can market yourself better. You don't want to just be a one hack kind of person. You want to be able to do multiple things. So
No
like
one
I
trick
said,
ponies here.
yeah.
You're
Yeah, you can't be one trick pony. Like I said, stunts for me, it's artwork. It's also like making costumes and stuff with cosplay. It's also with 3D printing. I dabble in so many different ways of creativity, and like I love that. So I'm just trying to find, if one thing doesn't work out, I can always go to another versus me just relying on one source and finding out that, oh, this might not be the direction I want to go and then being disappointed in the end.
just fire.
Yeah.
Oh, and just in case you don't recognize it, this is the Blade that when we fought and I was Iron Fist and we because he was the main stunt choreographer because I learned from him. I learned a few tricks. I was just like, okay, appreciate you. I was like, I did. And so I was like,
Fun project.
right,
Yes,
loved
definitely
it.
fun project.
You definitely helped the production value go up. I appreciate
No,
that. Good
thank
sir.
you.
Appreciate
Love being a part of it. So yeah.
it. So check that also. Support. And if you're not here at the Atlanta Sci-Fi and Fantasy Expo, come on down. It's this weekend. It's today, Saturday. Upon shooting, tomorrow, Sunday. All right. But you heard it here.